And Furry Fisticuffs donated $25 saying all the dogs pet them. And now it is time for the Tantalus to pet dogs and do other things and save the world. The Tantalus ran Startropics at Summer Games Done Quick 2017, and now it is Zoda's Revenge, Startropics 2, here at SGDQ 2021. The Tantalus, show us how it's done.
Hey everybody, welcome. It is awesome to have you here this morning. It is a little bit early for the United States on the East Coast where I am, and hope you will have had a good breakfast. If you're not, you're going to get one, and enjoy this run. This is Zoda's Revenge. Bobby, did we get Zoda? Is that the file name?
No, we got a callback to the beginning of the marathon. Bingus, who was from Dragon Age Inquisition. Bingus came in at the last minute, so B-I-N-G-U-S.
Got it. All right, Bingus is our winner. And I'm going to go ahead and get started and then let the commentators intro because Chapter 1's just a chit-chat. So I'm the Tantalus, and we're going to get ready to go in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so I'm joined by DarkTerrex and ZeroCounts. You guys want to go ahead? Terex, you can go first.
Hi, yeah, I'm DarkTerrex.
Hey, I'm ZeroCounts. I'm Startropics 1 speedrunner.
And so let's talk a little bit about Startropics 2. So this game came out in 1994 in North America only. It was not released in the PAL regions initially, and it was never released in Japan. It may have been released in PAL on the Virtual Console. I don't know for sure. But this game takes place right after the first Startropics. So if you guys watched Bug Doctor's Startropics 1 run, you may be right up to speed with the story. More or less, this is your uncle. You saved him in the last game. He's helping you figure out, something about the aliens from the last game. And it turns out they split themselves out through time. And Mike accidentally figures out the magic words, and back in time he goes. So, Terex, why don't you talk about the big differences between this game and the first one? Restart my Discord. Oh.
So, the biggest difference you'll see when we get into the dungeons is we have a grid system in Startropics 1, but Startropics 2 actually goes to 8-way movement and unlocks that instead. So you get more free reign of what you get to do with that, with your jumps. Otherwise, they are pretty similar. The buffering system from the first game is present in this one as well.
Yeah, the overworld system is a little bit different. You'll notice going as Tantalus goes through these snowfields, he's kind of doing some zigzaggy movement. It's because there's some invisible pits that you can actually fall into. That takes you to some little mini dungeons to sort of teach you the movement in the game. But we avoid those because we know exactly where those are.
And another big difference in the overworld traditionally in this game, for the most part, you don't have to talk to a lot of people. In Startropics 1, you spend a lot of time in villages chit-chatting with people just to meet the criteria to move on to the next area. Or if you even knew the answer to a puzzle, you wouldn't be able to solve it until you talk to the right person. That is not the case in this game. Usually you can talk to exactly who you need to talk to, get one thing, and move on, which is exactly what we did there as we got into the first dungeon.
And in that first cave, we actually ended up getting our first primary weapon. That's our stone axe. Unfortunately, we don't have a yo-yo in this game, so instead we're hurling giant axes at all of our enemies. Infinite supply of axes that we throw at our foes.
And we're gonna do the first major skip in the game here. Terex, you want to take that?
Yeah, so this is going to be what's called void walking. Get the setup right. Based on the buffering system, we can get up and get a basically pixel perfect position. Okay, good. It's also frame based on your damage. So basically, the easy way to explain it is we're taking damage the same frame that we're dying onto a void tile, and that glitches the game out to thinking that we are actually alive on a tile that doesn't exist, and allows us to make further jumps.
But
yeah, a lot of those void... Oh, go ahead.
The trick to that is that the game does not always check if you're taking damage. So it's not as easy as just setting up the pixel to take damage. You also have to set up the damage frame. That's why we have a damage boost set up. Oh, that's trouble there.
Yeah, this room is unbearable.
Thank you.
So
yeah, so those void walks are really difficult. A lot of them are pixel perfect. They require a certain setup too, and also a lot of them require some enemy RNG as well. So every time Tantalus pulls these things off, it's huge hype.
So this is a puzzle that there's the patterns to go through the right path is written on the wall in the cave where we got the axe, but we have the pattern memorized. So we're gonna be coming up on the first boss. His name is Yum Yum, and he's very hungry. So we're gonna let him eat a snack and turn him into Yum Yum soup.
We're going to be using that buffer system that Terex was talking about earlier in order to destroy Yum Yum before he's able to finish his snack and start attacking Mike. If you attack that boar, he'll actually get really mad at you and become one of the hardest bosses in the game.
Yes, yes. And that's you actually if you ran it with a turbo button there, you would actually shoot slower than buffering your inputs. Now I'm gonna try to do a trick here. I don't know if I'll get it, but I will go for it. Got it. Okay.
Hey, nice.
That takes about 2 seconds.
Yeah, basically there's a trigger in the overworld you can do that brings up the menu like that. So if you hit it on the right, it's a 1 frame trick. If you hit it on the right frame, basically it triggers the villagers talk sequence without, but also has them start moving as if you had finished talking to them. So it saves about 2 seconds. So
pretty cool. The screen gets a little garbled. The screen gets a little garbled there, but you know what? We saved 2 seconds.
Yeah, it doesn't. Trust me, speedrunners are used to having garbled screens. It's nothing unusual to us. So if you got a donation, Bobby, this 1 or 2, this would be a good time.
Okay, well, Tommy donated $10 asking how much would I have to donate for the Tantalus to put on Cappy?
Well, I have a headset on, but I can try. How about $25 towards runner's choice, and I'll put on Cappy.
All right. We also have a $50 donation from ZeroCounts saying, so happy to see Startropics 2 featured at another GDQ event. Good luck, Tantalus, and huge thank you to all the staff at GDQ for making this happen. Bow wow, woof woof.
We are going to be doing some bow wow, woof woof in a little bit. We don't even need to ask. We made the incentive to pet the dogs, correct?
Yes.
So.
Yes, we did.
Of course.
And then I do have a $251 donation from Prolix that just says Bingus. That's it. That's the tweet. Clip it and ship it.
All right, so we actually just got sent back in time to ancient Egypt. So we're having Mike go up onto Cleopatra's ship here to talk to Cleopatra and find out that she wants us to go get a pizza that she ordered. Because that's the thing that happened 3 days ago. Because that's the thing that happens in ancient Egypt, right? They ordered pizza.
Yeah, from Caesar's hut.
Yeah.
That's not a joke, by the way. That's really what it says. This is the one area you do have to talk to villagers to proceed. Outside of that, and there are some other times you have to talk to 1 or 2 people, but for them, that's the only traditional Startropics one. So yeah, we're gonna go into the second dungeon here. This dungeon also has one of the skips that isn't it's not frame perfect, but there's no good setup for it, so I may fail it a few times. We'll see.
Another interesting thing to note about this dungeon is at the end of it, we'll be getting a weapon upgrade in the form of a bronze dagger. You can actually get that dagger early. There's a secret area down in the overworld that you can go get it early. However, it only does half damage more than what the axe does, and the time that it takes to go and get that is longer than just using the extra hits on enemies in the dungeon.
The jump that, or the skip that Tantalus is talking about just before is referred to as either a wall jump or a corner jump. Essentially, when Mike approaches a corner of a wall, the game will kind of push Mike a few pixels to the left or right, depending on what side of the corner he's on. And we're going to use that, kind of exploit that to, push Mike a few pixels over so that he can make a two void gap, a 2-tile void gap. That skip is coming up here soon.
It's like a 3-frame trick, but there's no setup for it. So.
It's right here. Nice. Awesome.
The corner just pushes you up that 1 pixel that you need to get across that, so it's pretty handy.
Yeah, anytime that you can skip 2 tiles, jump over 2 tiles in this game, it's totally worth it.
This is the Scorpion Queen, and seeing what pattern we get. You can kind of somewhat manipulate the Scorpion Queen because every time you kill one of the small scorpions is when she attacks. So you can, depending on the pattern, keep her locked into place, but she's kind of even run around here.
Yeah, it was a great start. And I thought it was in a good position there, but didn't work out. So no big deal. We're still through that dungeon with good health, which is going to be important for the next skip we're going to try and do. We're going to do the first. We're going to make one attempt at doing a wrong warp on the next level. It is going to be a minute before we get to that level, so if you do have a donation or two, it's a good time for that.
Absolutely. We have a $50 donation from Darkamisk that says, "Hey, Dark here. You've been grinding hard. You will kill this run. Let's see Pond Skip for all the fans." Also, Zoda. Let's go, Startropics community.
Thank you, Dark Mist, long-standing member, and he's a supporter of anything Startropics. So thank you very much for your support for such a great cause. Honored to be a part of this marathon. So thank you, GDQ, for giving us an opportunity to display this awesome game here.
You have time for another one? All right, we have a $100 donation from Bug Doctor saying, "Pretty cool that we've both gotten to represent both Startropics games at Games Done Quick this year. It's been awesome to see the work you've put into Startropics 2 over the last year, and I'm incredibly pumped for this run. Let's go, dude. You've got this."
Thank you, Bug Doctor. Bug Doctor is the world record holder for Startropics 1, who ran it this year's GDQ. So, it is amazingly cool to have both Startropics games played in the same year. So very, very grateful for that as well. It's been a long time since this has been a GDQ. I think 2014 was the last time this was run.
Yeah, that's GDQ 2014.
And the record at that time was 103.12, and the record now is 58.59. So it's changed quite a bit, especially this year, which with a major skip at the end that we'll kind of show off when we get there. I think I talked about that in the interview. If you guys were able to catch that before the run, so.
I think that's a pretty good segue into this next potential skip, actually. One of the huge advancements in this game is some of the wrong warps that we've implemented. So there's a skip coming up called the Pond Skip, which involves 2 void walks as well as some wrong warping. It requires a little bit of enemy RNG to make work, so hopefully the enemies behave.
We need a duck to cooperate a certain way. There is a way to do it that's RNG not dependent, but it's much, much, much harder. So I didn't have time to learn that version. All right, let's see how it goes. I'm not gonna make it. That's fine. I jumped too early.
That is a super hard trick to pull off.
Yeah, you have to void walk on the water twice. I'm going to go for it one more time because I have the health to do it. I don't know what happened.
Dang.
That looked right, but...
Yeah, it seemed right to me.
That's okay. One thing that this does put me in a little bit of a pickle is that these lives carry over to the next dungeon. So I'm gonna have to do this the traditional way. That is unfortunate, but it's okay.
Yeah, so something that we didn't touch on earlier is that at the end of every, for one thing, the lives do carry over, as Tantalus said, in each chapter. So we want to be careful with our life count. But also at the end of every chapter, we actually get a heart refill. And so it's important at the end of every chapter to kind of have as much life as possible, because every heart that Mike has lost counts as 1 second against us in our time. So, and chapter 3 especially, because chapter 3, much like Startropics 1, is the longest chapter in this in the run. So we don't get a health refill until the very end. So it's important to keep those hearts up.
The other thing to note about that health refill is you'll see these big hearts on the overworld sometimes. You can pick those up, but there's no point because it gives us that heart at the end of the dungeon anyway. So no matter what, when you get to the end of the game, you will have full health. So there's not ever a point in like going out of your way to get them.
Yeah, you can't miss a heart container.
One thing I don't think we touched on quite yet, you'll notice there's a lot of diagonal moving going on. In most games, that slows you down. In this game, you move the same speed regardless of which direction you're going. So if we're moving diagonal, even if we're against a wall or anything, it's the same speed as if we were holding, one direction. So we abuse that as much as we can to get both directions covered.
Yeah. Something else about this area. So this is the kind of a tall grass maze. Those little platforms that you see with the little ladders, you're supposed to go on top of those platforms so you can actually see the direction you're supposed to go in this grass. But we kind of memorize / feel our way around and get through these tall grass areas without any problem.
Yeah, it's a big maze, and there's a very specific way through it. So. Let me enter it through. And one thing I should say, the lives typically don't carry over dungeon to dungeon. This is the exception. These mini dungeon lives carry over to the pyramid dungeon, which we're about to go into. So, just kind of a unfortunate situation. If I do die, I will game over here. So I have to be very cautious about that.
But thankfully, we got our secondary weapon there, the Psychic Shockwave. We got it from a monkey because monkeys are psychic.
Yeah, obviously.
Because video games. And our Psychic Shockwave is it's a little weaker than the dagger, but it's a much faster attack. So we'll utilize that as much as we can. There's actually some enemies, one coming up here, that can only be attacked using the Psychic Shockwave.
And this room actually has a pitfall that goes to the room before it, so that's why I was jumping all over the place in a specific way.
Yeah, not only are there pitfalls in the overworld, there are some in the actual dungeons as well.
I'm not getting Mike to face down there.
A zombie really want to take a bite out of you.
And that's actually kind of some of the difficulty of this game comes in walking diagonal and not accidentally walking diagonal where you don't want to. Because the NES controller is not exactly precise when it comes to diagonals. So managing that is difficult, and that's part of the reason, like those double void walks that I did, I attempted, they have such a high error rate. So yeah, this dungeon is a good mix of using both weapons. So when I can, I want to use the faster firing weapon, which is the Psychic Shockwave here. But in other cases, I want to use the dagger because it's much more powerful. So, and in some cases, I'll actually mix them together, which you'll see, especially the next chapter. Okay. And I'm actually going to do something that Terex thought we weren't going to do.
Oh, yeah. Gonna get the lucky sign. So this is actually also a difference between Startropics 1 and 2. Normally we wouldn't get a lucky sign, but since he is low on lives, that's actually a good call. In Startropics 1, they were very mean in that game, and they actually could give you a negative life.
If you're at one life, you couldn't get negative.
Right, but There was a chance of it. In this game, they took that away. They weren't so mean.
Yeah.
You can only get positive lives. So upcoming here, you'll soon see kind of another puzzle room like you saw in the first dungeon. In this case, this is all within this dungeon. Here we just have this snake pattern on the floor. You know, why would that be there? Well, turns out that, you know, snakes are charmed with flutes. So we're gonna go get a flute and uncover the actual path in that room by using it.
And when we get back to that cupboard room, there's going to be a photosensitivity warning. There's a lot of flashing, so once you hear the flute noise stop, that'll be a good time to, if you're looking away, that'll be the time to look back. So, it's coming up in like 4 seconds.
I'm gonna buffer out a attack first so that when the snakes are summoned, it just hits the first one immediately. So the buffering is here in Startropics 2. Compared to Startropics 1, it's not nearly as relevant. Startropics 1, with its grid movement, nearly everything you do is pre-buffered. In this game, a lot more of it is reaction-based. That was a good call getting the medicine.
Yeah. So this is Monster Mask, the boss of this chapter. Doesn't look too scary until his mask opens up, which maybe we'll see here. Oh, he's being nice. Oh, there he is. There he is. That's not creepy at all.
Yeah, no child would have nightmares over that.
And that is the Haunted Pyramid down. So, another good chance for donations before we get to our doggies.
All right, well, Muffin donates $250 saying, "Hey, Tant, good luck on your run. I'm hoping you get world record again so I can go back to bed even sooner. Looking forward to seeing you at Xanadu again soon."
Thank you, Dave. I much appreciate that. Old coworker, Smash player. Thank you very much. We greatly appreciate that. That's a very generous donation.
Radical, you might say.
It is. I don't think a world record now, but we'll give it a shot. Why not? After the 2 deaths, and I had to slow myself down quite a bit there, but that's all right. All right.
Do we have time for one
Sure.
more?
Go for it.
You want to go? Okay, well, we do have a $50 donation from Anonymous saying, "Woke up early to watch this piece of my childhood be run at SGDQ. Remember to jam bananas in your ears."
Always good advice.
Absolutely.
All right, so the story so far, you may have noticed we've been collecting Tetris blocks. That is intentional. In fact, if you play the Virtual Console versions of this game, it will just call it a block, I believe. It doesn't call it a tetrad, but the NES version still calls it a tetrad. So here's our first dog, by the way. Woof, bow wow, woof, woof. There's one doggy.
Yeah.
Bow wow, woof, woof.
And we've got one more doggy.
Tantalus, I need more dog pets. Oh, thank goodness.
You can pet the dog in Startropics too. I know there's a Twitter account for that. Can you pet the dog? All right, so you meet up with Sherlock Holmes, who's a completely, real history person, and he tells you that Zoda's going to steal another tetrad piece from the museum. So you go tell the constable to help you with that, and he throws you in jail. But there's a hole in the jail, so you just leave. There's this guy sleepwalking. We're just gonna leave him alone. He's sleeping. And we'll head up to the museum.
We're totally gonna get that tetrad before Zoda does.
Absolutely. Why wouldn't we?
He called me Watson.
Oh, there
Right
it is.
there.
Oh no!
Surprise! Plot twist, it's Zoda.
Gasp!
Specifically Zoda X, actually. So there are 3 versions of Zoda in this game. The Zoda that Mike killed in Startropics 1 is still dead. Zoda X is technically a different dimension Zoda from the first game. And then there's also a Zoda Y and Z.
So we have another one of those, one of the corner skips / wall skips coming up here in the next room.
This one's much more significant. Good. Okay.
There we go. Nice.
It's also a lot easier.
Yeah, it's also a lot easier, which is awesome. The first one is a lot harder. It saves like 4 seconds. This one is much easier and saves something like 40 seconds. You skip the entirety of the dungeon by doing that.
Ah, rats.
Bad pattern.
Ooh, early jump.
Wow.
That's really rare.
Nice reaction there. Nice reaction.
I saw it coming. I was like, oh boy, that's very rare.
One cool thing to note about Startropics 2 is since they added, more vertical platforming, they have a Z-axis in the game. So that means there are some enemies that also you have to hit higher up rather than on the ground.
So this enemy here, the Zoda spawn boss, also known as the Big Raspberry.
The Big Raspberry.
We can't actually, the only objective in that boss fight is to hit that switch underneath it to go out the door. But unfortunately, if you get hit by that boss, it's a one-hit KO. So we have to defeat the boss first and then jump on the tile.
Yep, and that's a case of me counting hits, 16 hits to kill the boss. If I didn't do it right, I would have jumped into the boss and died, and that would have been a pretty bad mistake, but we're all good.
Alright, so now we picked up another weapon. I think it's just called the spinning disc. It's actually very powerful, and we use quite a bit of it in this dungeon. Unfortunately, you don't keep any items from one chapter to the next. So you pretty much want to make use of what you get when you get it.
You guys want to talk about the arrow platforms and the raft?
Oh, sure. Yeah, so in this room in particular, you'll see both of these. There's these arrow platforms, common trope in video games. You jump on those arrows, they'll push you in the direction the arrow is facing. The rafts are super scary because they're one of the only platforms in the game that you can actually walk right off of. There's no edge that stops Mike from walking. So you want to stay really far away from those edges at all times.
That was a pretty good room. Those rats can kind of get out of hand pretty easily.
Alright, and this is the only time in a dungeon that I'll tell you can read a donation. This is just kind of an auto-scroller part.
All right, well, we have a $5 donation from Zephyr saying, Tant, it's been awesome to see you invest the time and effort to grind out world records and improvements. Your energy when you achieve your goals is inspiring. Can't wait to see what you play next. Huge thank you to all GDQ staff for always having such a great event for a great cause.
Thank you, Zephyr. There's Startropics One Runner, also a longtime teammate in Super Smash Brothers. Some of you may know me from being a Smash Bros. TO. Obviously, events have not been what they were in the past year or so. So, looking forward to maybe getting back to that sometime soon. But for now, we're doing some speed running. We got the boss of this level. If you guys want to take it.
Yeah. So Zoda X here can spawn in 2 spots. Unfortunately, you got the worst pattern there. You can spawn directly in the center, at the bottom, or on the left. And you're hoping for him to do not the attack he's doing now, which is the skull pattern. You're hoping that he raises his arms up and does this flame pattern instead, which leaves them out on screen much longer. And if he does that, then you can actually one cycle him before he does anything else.
Yeah, you need the flame pattern to get the 1 cycle, but you can get a 2 cycle if you don't get hit with the disc on the beams. He gave me beams all 3 times actually, so and it was the worst possible luck. That's all right though. And he left the block line around. So there it is, our 3rd tetrad. again, another health refill. So like if I had taken a lot of damage in that level, then I would have been in bad shape there. So it would cost a lot of time. So it doesn't just your errors still just cost you time in the dungeon. They cost you time in the overworld. So they're kind of your mistakes double down on you. Another good time for donations. We go to we have like 3 minutes probably.
All right. Well, you mentioned Smash Brothers. So we have a $15 donation from Black Frost saying, "Let's go, Tant. Here to support from the Smash Brothers and JTS community." You got it, man.
Thank you very much. Another local Maryland TO, so thank you very much for the support.
And then we have a $5 donation from Sven Craig saying, "I've donated at every Startropics related run at a GDQ, and my donations have been read. Will the streak continue? Good luck with the run."
There you go.
The streak continues. That means the next time they run Startropics, you are now obligated to donate. If you can. Just saying. And we have a $25 donation from Serdan1987 saying, "What a great way to start the day waking up to Startropics 2. Was always a fan of the NES growing up, so what a way to start the morning off." And we have a $25 donation from Justin D. Ark that says NES block is best block.
Gotta love the NES block. Shoutouts to Junkyard Dave coming up next. He's been grinding his games. He's got 2 back to back, so it's gonna be good fun. Make sure you stick around for those ones as well. All right, so the goal of this is to get explosives to find a hole in the mountain where the dungeon is. There's a way you're supposed to do this, and you're supposed to find the cactus that's lopsided, which is right there, and then follow a specific set pattern. It didn't work as a kid because I didn't follow the instructions right, but it actually does work. You just have to go relative to the position of where you were the cactus. So that's how the story tries to tell you where this is, but obviously we know where it is, and we're just going to move on. You guys want to talk about
dance today?
No cactus dance today, but
oh man,
I did show the cactus at least.
You did, yes. I appreciate it.
Do you guys want to cover this dungeon's not really all that significant except for the void, so you want to talk about
there's not
the boss?
There's not a ton for this dungeon. It's pretty straightforward. So there is a boss here that kind of looks like a mini boss, honestly, but it is the boss of this dungeon. It's one of the bandits or cyclopses that we've seen in previous dungeons, and it's got a boulder that it tries to kick at us. However, there is a very, very tricky void walk. This is one of the hardest ones in the game.
I think it's the hardest. I think it's harder than the one that I failed earlier. So.
Oh, really? Well, basically, we're gonna enter this room, and the cactuses here are gonna hopefully cooperate. Okay. I'll let you do this first so you can concentrate. Awesome, he got it.
Nice,
awesome.
Wow, awesome.
Okay, that saves like 20 seconds compared to fighting the boss. You can set it up 2 ways. One, either by dealing damage and then pausing and then walking into the room, or by taking damage. And by doing that, it determines what frame you have to count for the void walk to work. That's why he did a bunch of pause buffers when he was getting to the right pixel to jump on.
Yeah, so the pauses help me set to the right pixel that I need to jump on, but I also have to do a set number of pauses to control what damage frame I'm on. So I'm really glad I got that, because the last time I was run here, I'm pretty sure Gobadu said that it would be Taz only, so we've done it in GDQ now. So there you go.
Yeah. Huge hype in chat, please, because that's a really, really tricky trick to pull off.
Yeah, and obviously, like you saw when I failed earlier, any of these tricks, if I fail them, I die. So they all. There's no like, oh, I messed up, I'll just try it again. That's not how this works ever. Unfortunately,
yeah, they're all pretty significant time losses too.
Startropics 2 is a cruel, cruel mistress.
We're gonna do a little different way to kill these chests than we did in the first dungeon. Now we have a Super Psychic Shockwave. You guys want to talk about the Super Psychic Shockwave real quick?
Oh, yeah. So we got an upgrade to our secondary weapon. This is the Super Psychic Shockwave. It does a little bit more damage, and it goes a little bit further on the screen, but it does require 10 or 5 plus hearts to use. So it's important to be able to conserve your health in this dungeon, because it's a really helpful weapon to have, especially here.
All right, so okay, awesome damage list. That's fantastic. All right,
Wow.
The minecart is like by far the hardest boss in this game. Like, there's not even anything close.
That boss,
and it's a mini boss.
that boss is absolutely the run killer.
Yep.
Something we picked up earlier that we didn't highlight is we picked up a big star. Any guess as to what that might do? It makes us invincible. Imagine that.
Yeah, who knows where they got that idea from?
I actually have to do a double buffer here. I'm gonna use it and then use the star.
All right.
So it is possible to actually jump and not take the hit stun from the hammer, but it's frame perfect, and also Mashing Miner has to be in a hit stun for it to work.
That was a really good Mashing Miner fight. Real
Yeah,
fast.
it was.
That was just a really good level overall. This level is probably the nastiest level in the game, just because of how volatile it is. That first room, the scorpions, is really volatile. The green cactuses are all volatile. The mini boss, as Derek's mentioned, is just as bad as any major boss. And some people opt to use that star in the mini boss instead, but it's optimal time save if you can use it on the main boss, just because those boulders that the boss knocks down, they block the shots, so you have to jump and shoot them. Those boulders can go any which way, so if you can just stand on them while invincible, beat the boss that way, much better.
So now we're going to go back through time again, and now we're headed to Italy.
Yeah, during the Italian Renaissance, we're gonna meet a pretty famous artist. I think you might have heard of him, Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo
No idea.
da Vinci. Oh, okay. I think he's also a Ninja Turtle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Leonardo da Vinci has found himself in a pickle. He's covered in plaster. You know, that happens
Art
sometimes.
accident gone wrong.
Yep. And so we're going to try to save Leonardo da Vinci by going into his basement and trying to find a hammer and chisel. Leonardo da Vinci has some very interesting things stashed away in his basement. A giant collection of various balls, or should I say orbs.
He's got interesting. We're gonna also try to do a void right off the bat here.
Yep.
There we go.
Perfect.
Nice.
Also, shoutouts to the katana in this room. It's just a visual glitch that they give you the weapon that you're supposed to get after this dungeon. It's only in that room.
And we did confirm it's just visual. It's not. The weapon wouldn't actually be a dagger. Or it still would be a dagger, but it looks like the katana.
Yep. But we just use it to buffer movement in that room so that we can move through it without stopping.
Yep. There's what's called a frame spawn. The enemies and objects that are movable in the room spawn on different sets. So that movement covers both of that. Any option. That's why I do that.
Yeah, so Leonardo da Vinci has a giant dungeon in his basement with all these giant heavy balls just careening around the room. We have to drop them into these holes in the floor, and Tanos is going to make quick work of that. This is honestly one of the hardest rooms in the game.
Yeah, that was not
especially the first time you play it casually. So that was pretty quick.
Just that room, the 6 of them. If you've never played it before, it could take you like upwards of 5 minutes just to clear that room. If you're speedrunning it and like you have a pattern and it goes wrong, and you don't have a good backup plan, that will absolutely set you back 2, 3, 4 minutes. It's pretty extreme. So it went pretty well. I got the right movement, but didn't get the execution on the second set properly. So that's okay. It's still pretty fast.
So we're going to actually get Leonardo da Vinci out of the plaster here, and he's going to be very, very thankful for us helping him out. He's going to give us a katana, which is an upgrade to our primary weapon. That's actually the last upgrade to our primary weapon. So now Mike gets to throw katanas around at all the enemies, which is super practical. He's also going to give us
his rap.
Yep. He changes the Mona Lisa.
Yeah, Mike created a time paradox.
That won't ruin time at all. And he also gives us access to his flying machine so we can go to the next island.
Yeah, you always heard that rumor he has a flying machine. It's true! He has one.
This island is pointless, by the way. Get hyped for
his hair is even flapping around in the wind there.
By the way, this is Micah, who you see in the bubble there. She's our alien friend we rescued from Startropics 1, and she can telepathically communicate with us through time. So I want that power, by the way. Here's Pointless Island. We're just going to leave it.
Beautiful. There's a big heart on the island for what its actual purpose is, but, we don't need it.
Yeah, frame perfect Pointless Island. So the next area is a series of kind of like the snowfield where there's just mini dungeons everywhere. We're going to walk around those. There are 2 that we have to go into. One of them is it's kind of RNG. I can get 1 of 4 possibilities. The other is preset. So if you have any donations, this is a great time.
We do. I have a $100 donation from Andreas Bull Aronson that says, the last year and a half has made it abundantly clear how necessary the medical community is for the continued survival of the human race. Huge thanks to all the doctors and medical personnel that are putting their own personal safety on the line to save others, and thanks, SGDQ, for incentivizing us to donate to such a great cause. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
And we do have a $15 donation from McRib saying, proud of you, bro, go kill it.
Thank you, McRib.
Do we have time for one more?
We do. We have time for a couple more.
All right, Okay, so we do have a $20 donation from Geldine that says, good luck with the revenge, pushing for Paper Mario later. That is one of the incentives. That we have the bonus game, a stop and swap of Paper Mario. We got a ways to go on that, but a lot of people are donating in for that.
Which was my runner's choice as well. So please donate for Paper Mario Stop and Swap. That's one of the craziest things I've ever seen in speedrunning.
We are actually pretty close. We only have about $7,000 left to get that.
Real quick, we have a flash warning coming up, several of them. So if you have photosensitivity, there's going to be a lot of them starting right now.
We have time for one more at least.
Okay, we have a $255 donation from Jonathan Tubbs that says, I took the week off from work to ruin my sleep schedule for this event, especially to catch some NES goodness live. So here's my 8-bit donation to an incredible cause and event. I look forward to catching 16, 32, 64, and 128 more years of GDQ and seeing the incredible work by everyone who make it possible. Donation for some Paper Mario Stop and Swap, because what? That sounds crazy. Must see.
It is crazy.
All right, so Zoda just sent us back into another time and space, and sent us to Transylvania, another totally factual place.
And we're good on the photosensitivity stuff now, so if you were looking away, you can look back.
There are a lot of really super cool enemies in this dungeon that we'll get to see. A lot of pretty cool rooms overall, honestly. One of my favorite dungeons.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. There's some interesting enemies in here. These Frankenstein monsters, you hit them once and they lose their top half, so though you just have running pants around. Which sometimes can get out of hand, but that wasn't too bad.
Or out of foot, maybe?
Indeed.
These ghosts here, a bunch of them appear on screen, but you can only hit one of them. One of them is a little bit a shade of pink, so that tells you which one can actually take damage.
That was the worst pattern. I had to keep moving the ship, but we managed it.
Yep. This enemy here, if you've played Zelda 1, you may know the Dark Nut enemy. This is a red Dark Nut, and it's awful. for obvious reasons.
That's why I choose to use the katana on this one, because it's less hits, so if I only get one shot, it still works out. We're going to try to do one more void walk here. We'll talk about three-way shot in a second, Zero.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Three-way shot is cool, but we're going to try to do the skip real quick, hopefully. Okay,
awesome.
there.
Very nice. Yeah, so like we mentioned there, we did pick up a new sub-weapon called the three-way shot. Three-way shot is super awesome because it's basically a spread shot. Shoots out 3 projectiles. We can make really quick work of these bat enemies. And also, if you're close enough to enemies, you can actually get multiple hits on one enemy, which we'll kind of use to exploit a boss later on in the game.
And actually, you may have noticed, like, why are the bats so tough in this game? And three-way shot is the only weapon that can actually one-shot the bats. Well, the spinning disc could if you had it in that dungeon, but you don't have it. So the bats turned into demons in this game. They were wimps in Startropics 1, but...
it was giving you a good pattern there for a while.
Yeah, I think he was one hit.
One hit left, yeah.
Dang.
Alright, so here we're coming up on Zoda Y, second form of Zoda. He's got 2 phases. One where he's just got his regular, cloak. He's gonna throw a couple bats at us and some shots. After we deal enough damage, hopefully we can get in a 2-cycle. Then he'll transform into the other phase. Which, awesome, got that. Now he kind of becomes this owl bat insect
demon
combination.
A monstrosity.
That was
I was others.
Yeah, I was 1 pixel away from getting hit.
Also, I want everyone to pay attention to the spikes at the bottom of the screen. There will be a quiz later on this.
Okay, and we're through that. So if you have time for like, let's say 4 or 5 donations probably before we get to the next one.
All right, we have a $50 donation from Zoomer that says this game is as old as I am. I'm sure somebody out there is listening and just heard that and said, Zoomer woke up this morning and chose violence. We do have a $10 donation from your boy Grunty that says, I have the strange feeling that Bingus is about to go on many more adventures this GDQ.
It seems very likely.
We have a $15 donation from Patzigan that says, accidentally pulled an all-nighter watching all the great runs so far. Probably won't be the only one this week. Here's to a great marathon.
So quick thing to note there, we actually just were... oh, excuse me, never mind. Continue with the donations.
Actually, let me say something real quick on this.
Oh, go ahead.
The game came out in '94. This is actually the last unique game released on the NES. The last game that was released on the NES was Wario's Woods, which was also on the SNES, but yeah, this came out very late in the NES life cycle, so a lot of people ended up missing it, unfortunately.
Yeah, it came out 3 years after Super Nintendo came out, so that's why a lot of people haven't played it. Like, it's not on the NES Online. So, like, Startropics 1 is, so if you have the Switch Online, you have access to Startropics 1, but they haven't put this one on yet. We are all greatly hoping that they will.
Yes.
But if you do have an NES, this is a relatively inexpensive title. So I will say, actually, it's going up, so it is a good time to grab it if you haven't grabbed it yet. It's about 15 to 20 bucks. We just talked to King Arthur, who's also definitely a historical figure. And
absolutely.
We are going to... He asked us to kill the dragon because his knights can't do it, so the kid with a ninja sword and a jean jacket is going to handle that for him.
Yeah, Mike is 16, by the way.
Gotta wait for him to come back.
That's really bad. Okay. Wow. As you can see, you fall through the floor once you defeat all the enemies, and you kind of have to be at the top of the screen, otherwise you don't land on top of the platform that you need to. There's no way up there otherwise. If you fall down below, then you have to go through a couple of rooms to the left to make your way back up.
These knights right here are some of the most obnoxious enemies in the game. Later on, we're actually going to find ones that have shields that act like dark nuts, so they can be even more obnoxious.
These are fixed patterns. You just have to walk around the knives so you don't get chopped.
Yep.
We're actually going to walk through one on purpose here.
And then we're going to fight the fastest but most annoying boss in this game.
Slow the speed run down, boss. Here we go.
This is Knight Rider. Knight Rider moves really quickly back and forth, shooting these laser beams at us. Essentially, the trick is to go at about the same speed as Knight Rider and throw katanas so that they end up hitting him as he comes across. That was actually a pretty quick fight there. It was about that was 3 cycles.
Yeah, that's how we
The
went.
fight can get out of hand very quickly if you aren't right in the right spot.
Yeah, if you don't stay lined up with him, you can lose 30 seconds to a minute there, just trying to get the straight hits. It only takes 10 hits to kill him, but getting, if you're only hitting one time around every loop, it gets pretty wild.
Here we're going to meet Merlin. Merlin is like, hey, remember all those animals? That was me this whole time. So unfortunately, animals are not psychic. Like
and now
we
I'm
previously
disappointed.
thought. Yeah, I know. But, Merlin helps us out by giving us our final upgrade to our Psychic Shockwave, the Ultra Psychic Shockwave.
This thing's amazing.
The Ultra Psychic Shockwave pretty much becomes our primary weapon from now on because it has the same speed and has a little bit more damage output, and also can travel across the entire screen.
Yeah, it's very much akin to the Supernova from Startropics 1, and this timing is as well.
It does require 10 plus hearts to use, though, so life management is still super important.
Blobs can get very out of hand in this dungeon. I think they have a bit of a higher speed to them compared to other ones, so they jump out of your way pretty quickly.
That there's the Kamehameha dinosaur.
Actually called a Zoda sword. And it gave me probably the worst pattern there. I knew he was going to shoot me again, but I didn't jump it right.
Here we just got
Yeah,
a large blob, unfortunately, and hopefully the small ones don't get out of hand too quickly.
Yeah, some of these rooms in this dungeon can be really obnoxious because it's just like, hey, how many blobs can we fit in a room?
Yep.
Yeah, and this dungeon is the dungeon that you'll save the most time in the run, other than maybe the one with the ball patterns, ball puzzles. And it has none of the skips that we do. So this dungeon can fluctuate anywhere from in a 90-second range. If you're like trying to PB, you could end up losing like 90 seconds on this dungeon. I know that seems like ridiculous. It is a long one, but it's just such a difficult dungeon, and you have so much health. So if you are low health when you complete the dungeon, then you get to be in a pretty bad situation. That is a long health refill at the end.
Mm-hmm.
You can technically void walk in that previous room using the spikes, but there's not really a consistent setup for it, and it saves a very minimal amount of time.
We just saw one of the gold knights, one of the knights I mentioned earlier that has a shield. That one was actually really cooperative, but don't worry, they'll be coming back.
Yeah, the trick is to hit them when they're walking between tiles, because they can't change their actions, and then you can hit stun them. But it doesn't always work out the way you'd like it to.
Next we'll have a double gold knight room, so hopefully they cooperate. That could have been worse, honestly.
Yeah, it could have been worse, but...
Just imagine Dark Nuts if they could shoot projectiles at you in a spread shot pattern.
Yeah, it's kind of where you're at. But you can shoot projectiles at them, to be fair, in this game.
That's true.
It's fair.
That is rare to have killed the Gold Knight before the
Silver Knights,
before the silver ones. And for me, anyway, it kind of messes me up because the other ones start firing more, and then I have more projectiles to deal with.
So we're coming up on the next boss here. This is the dragon. The dragon is interesting because you can only attack it in its face. So you have to jump up to reach its face as it slowly walks down towards you. It's possible to one-cycle this thing, but it can be pretty tricky getting in that many shots, so we'll see what happens here.
I was gonna say, it also depends on what patterns, If he does the fire attack, awesome. It makes it much easier because he stays in place. Otherwise, if he gets down too far, then he starts flying around the room and spreading fire everywhere.
Yeah, that was a really, really good dragon pattern. So
yeah, I wish I got that on World Record.
Fight. Yeah. Yeah. So we're hitting the end of chapter 8 here.
Yep, we've got all the tetrad pieces, but Mike isn't good at puzzles, so he doesn't know them to go. So we're gonna go find someone who can, but there's gonna be a problem with that, as you'll see. So we have time for this will be the last time for some donations if you've got some.
I do. We have a $25 donation from Infinity X2K4 that says, is it early morning or late night? Big shout out to the runners and staff keeping SGDQ fun and running in the pre-8 a.m. blocks. And then we have a $20 donation from Joe BPA that says, I'm a first-time contributor and very happy to give to such a great cause. Good luck to all the runners. And we do have a $100 donation from Eric S. that has no comment, but thank you so much for that.
I do have something to say real quick. The text that you have for the magic spell is actually a song by the Rivingtons. Some of you might be familiar with Surfing Bird.
Yeah, this game does a really good, and Startropics 1, they tried to make references to American culture a lot. It was designed for the West, as you know. It was not released in Japan, but it was developed in Japan. So,
from the left.
So, yes, we're going to talk to this villager for the left. This is important for later in this dungeon. I know that seems weird, but it is. So all the villagers got turned into boars, as we've now made it back to our present time, and this is the first level from the first Startropics game. So you may recognize the level and the music a little bit. Obviously the enemies might be a little different, since their tile set is different in this game. But, yeah, it's a familiar sight. And this is the final dungeon in the game. So we are going to work our way through it. A lot of this is familiar to our good friend Mike here. And if you remember, in the first Startropics, when Bug Doctor did it earlier this year, the Sea Serpent was the one boss in the game we were able to skip. So this is Zoda's revenge, right? So we'll see if Sea Serpent can get his revenge in Startropics 2. In just a moment.
Shout outs to the Startropics 1 dungeon remix song here.
Yeah, this is one of the coolest throwbacks that I've seen in games. It's so good. Alright, so the Sea Serpent is back. He's kind of dead. And we're gonna skip him.
We skipped him again.
Yeah, poor Sea
No
Serpent.
respect. No
Poor
respect
Sea
for the
Serpent
Sea
never
Serpent.
gets his dues.
He never gets his revenge. So
that actually is by far the easiest void walk in the game. You just gotta jump towards or diagonally and then hold right halfway through it, and it just works.
Yeah, it's not a frame perfect setup. Well, it's a frame perfect setup, but it's not a pixel perfect setup. There's several spots you can land it will work for you. So.
Yeah.
All right, so we're good now. Instead of the dungeon being over like it was in Startropics 1, it now leads to a boss refight, which would cultivate in a showdown with Zoda Z. We mentioned there's a third Zoda, but we've got one more trick up our sleeve Like we said, this is it might be Zoda's revenge, but we're the ones who laughed last year. So
Zoda's revenge, but this is Mike's story.
So actually, Zoda Y hopefully will be our final boss. We don't refight every boss, but we refight most of them.
Right. Ooh, that's close. So next is the Zoda X fight. This is actually going to be a little bit different with the three-way shot, and we're actually hoping that he spawns in the center position. Let's see. Oh, he's going to go left. Okay, he gave us a good pattern at least, so he's out on the screen much longer. There we go.
I'm surprised.
Aw, so close.
Very close, very close.
I was only getting one three-way shot. That's why.
Yeah,
I wasn't getting 2 hits.
It's trickier to use the three-way shot on the left pattern because you can't throw another one out until that one's cleared. When he's down on the bottom one, you're throwing the three-way shot down, so it clears it much faster. You have no big star this time around for the miner.
All right, we're gonna focus on this. This is potentially the last boss, but it's very tricky. We're gonna try to get over to where Zoda is, and then do a wrong warp out of this dungeon. So.
Also, now it's time for your quiz. What kind of spikes were in the first dungeon for this boss?
Might not get it too soon.
Yeah, this skip actually ends up saving about a minute and 45 seconds, so very significant.
Awesome.
All right. Now we're over here hanging out with Zoda Y. We're gonna make quick work of him because we're just standing right next to him as he jumps around.
That was excellent.
And we're gonna push against this wall here and fall through the floor.
This is gonna set a tile, the out of bounds tile set, so that we can just do that. And we're out.
And that's it.
we got two more glitches real quick at the end of the game.
Yeah, we're good. There's supposed to be a cutscene where we talk to Micah, but we're just gonna take them with us like this.
Yeah, great. So there were two things that happened there. One, if you hold the direction, it just
get ready
skips the
on time.
cutscene. And two, if you walk backward, they don't expect you to do that, and so the sprites just go with you. Yeah, get ready on time.
And time. And there's a photosensitivity warning coming up. I'm gonna follow through the credits. What was the time?
It takes us a little bit to catch up on the time, so I'll tell you in a little bit.
Okay.
Sure.
So yeah, this is Startropics 2, an absolute gem of the NES, released in 1994. I have speedrun guides for this upload on our YouTube, and we have a great Startropics Discord community. Kind of covers both Startropics games, so if you're interested in either one of them, we're all there. We're all very helpful. Really solid community. As you can tell if you were watching the whole run, lots of them came with donations, very supportive. So I want to thank GDQ for giving us the opportunity. Follow us on Twitch, Dan and Jess. DarkTerrex and ZeroCounts, I think, is also your names on Twitch as well.
Yep.
Hopefully I got watch enough time to get the timer.
Yep. 1 hour, 54 seconds.
1 hour, not bad considering the two deaths.
Good.
Not bad considering the two deaths. I was hoping for sub hour on this run. We didn't get it, but that would have been the world record 6 months ago. So it's totally good. So I am the world record holder for this one. We just broke the 58-minute mark, 50 to 59. So really excited. Thank you, GDQ, for having us. And everybody take care and stick around for Junkyard Dave. I think he's doing Tiny Tudes first and then Batman. So stick around.
That was a radical run. Thank you so much for that. Zoda did not get their revenge. It's all about Mike. We do have some other incentives coming up. I know we talked a little bit about Paper Mario, but there's another one. And this $5 donation from Felina is going to let me tell you a little bit about it. The donation says, so glad SGDQ is here. Always love watching the amazing runners destroy these games for a good cause. Donation goes to unlocking the Prinny Cap, dude. This is actually before Paper Mario, but it's for Cave Story 3D. It's in a couple hours, but we've got a ways to go to get this. We need about $2,500 more to be able to unlock the Prinny Cap in Cave Story 3D. This is featuring Disgaia's famous penguin dude, and it's DOOD, during the Cave Story 3D run. So be sure when you put in your donations to set the incentive, and you can choose that, or you can choose the Paper Mario bonus game, the Stop and Swap, that's coming up soon. We are going to be right back right after this break, so don't close that tab. You are watching Summer Games Done Quick 2021 online, powered by Twitch. My name is Bobby Blackwolf. We're right in the middle of an amazing NES block here on this morning. If you're here, some places it's the afternoon, some places it's the evening. Wherever you are, I hope you are enjoying yourself. We have coming up next, Tiny Toon Adventures, being run by Junkyard Dave. This is Junkyard Dave's debut on the GDQ main stage, and they'll be running Batman right after this. But we do have some donation incentives coming up, and we've been talking a lot about the bonus game coming up, Paper Mario. We have a $100 donation from Skoy that says, this Paper Mario run sounds amazing. Would love to see it. And it's a stop and swap is what they're calling it. We have about $7,000 left to get to it, and I know we're going to be able to hit it. We just need to be able to hit it soon. So Twitch chat, I believe in you. Let's make this happen. Official GDQ Discord. Oh, yeah, I see you in your bingo card. You're welcome. I believe in you, too. Let's hit that run as well as the other incentives like the Cave Story 3D Prinny Cap incentive. I'd love to see that get hit as well.